Welcome to Reach the World ASAP. I'm Pastor Scott Griswold with ASAP Ministries. I just got back from a trip to Cambodia and Thailand, and I took with me several traveling companions. Not my wife or my kids, and not anyone for a mission trip. Who were my traveling companions? These white cards with a special website, mylanguagemylife.com. I share them pretty much with anybody I get acquainted with. And I want to tell you about my trip with these cards in the hopes that it will inspire you to take them with you too. The website is a portal to more than 150 worlds, different languages like Portuguese and Persian, French and Chinese. When someone looks up mylanguagemylife.com from their Chinese computer, it takes them to the page in Chinese where they can listen to Adventist World Radio or watch the Jesus video in Chinese. They can watch the Chinese Hope TV channel or read Bible studies that were prepared just for them. So when I left on Wednesday morning, my wallet was stuffed with these cards, and I had a bunch more in my briefcase. It was 4:30 in the morning, dark. Nobody in the shuttle bus was looking around waiting for me to plop my special website in their hand. I enjoyed some prayer time with Jesus and a good long nap. But when we were nearly there, I did have a brief chance to meet a family that looked like they were from Korea. I asked where they were headed, and sure enough, they were going to Korea to visit the children's grandparents. As we said goodbye, I said, "Here's a card with a special website on it. There are some good things in English and Korean and other languages. I hope you enjoy it." The line at O'Hare in Chicago was short, and I thought I'd be checking in quickly and on my way towards Bangkok. But the computer said there was nothing for Scott Griswold, so I had to go find a real person for check-in, and they told me my flight had been canceled. There was a typhoon in Japan. I was concerned. I was upset. I did not want to be late for teaching in Cambodia. The Filipino lady with United worked and worked trying to figure out something. I was praying, and she finally found a way I could land in Narita Airport, take an hour train to another airport, and still get to Bangkok and then to Cambodia in time. I thanked her and said, "I have something I really think you like. It's a website with some great videos, TV and radio programs in English and many other languages. It has Tagalog too." I said, "Salamat po," thank you in her language, and she smiled and I was on my way, thinking I just had a few hours to wait and be on my trip. Well, I had lots of prep to do for my teaching, so I settled into work while I waited. The Filipino lady had given me $20 in vouchers for a free lunch, so after a while I found a Subway sandwich. Then I saw some mangoes and berries and smoothies. All those special people back there, I was looking at them and realized they looked the same. I wonder where they're from. The man serving me told me they were from southern India. "Hey," I said, "I love southern India food. My favorite is masala dosa." He smiled and was just connecting a bit there. And after I enjoyed my lunch, and I came back and I handed him one of my traveling companions. "You'll find English here and Tamil and quite a few other languages from India." He seemed excited to take it. So I got on the plane. A Japanese lady with a 2-year-old was wondering if I'd be willing to trade places with her husband. He was over on the other side of the plane. "Sure," I said. And I was just getting settled in over there when 2 Japanese teenage girls and their mom were around me trying to figure out their seats. They were separated with the 2 girls next to me and the mother across the way. "Would you like to sit with your girls?" She wasn't sure what I was saying, so I stood up and motioned her to come. "Oh, thank you," she said. She was even bowing. And so I finally got to sit down, and there was even a vacancy so I could sleep better. But I did meet the guy next to me, just over. He was from America, but headed back to Indonesia to visit his family and take his children with them to meet their grandparents. Well, maybe you're thinking all I do on a trip is witness. Well, no, I really do like to read and work and sleep. I even like to watch something on the screen if there's anything worthwhile. But I've come to realize that most of the people I meet will never have another opportunity to have access to the incredible Bible truths that we have. Many will never have a chance to speak to a friendly Christian who knows Jesus. Who are we crossing paths with these days anyway? There are 1.6 billion Muslims in the world, another billion Hindus, nearly 500 million Buddhists or more depending how you figure, and 14 million Jews. Then there's traditional religions, Baha'is, Sikhs, Wiccans, not to mention that 1 in 6 people have no religious affiliation. That's according to pewforum.org. So it matters, doesn't it, how friendly we are. Well, while on the plane to Tokyo, I was reflecting on the disciples' incredible excitement at meeting Jesus when he rose from the dead. The story is so familiar that sometimes we lose the reality of that incredible experience. But the disciples went from absolutely devastating grief to heart-bursting joy. Their hope was forever. And off they went everywhere sharing the truth. They knew a God who had the power over death and everything else they could possibly need. So at the end of the flight, my language, my life, went to Indonesia next to me and with the mother and daughters into Japan. I ran to get my train ride, a new flight. It did not work out that way. So many flights had been canceled by the typhoon. There was a huge line in immigration, and that made me too late for the train. The buses were full, and there was a 2-hour line for the taxis. So I asked several people, and they said, "You're going to have to sleep in the airport. Take a flight in the morning." There was no way around it, and so there was the airport giving out sleeping bags and crackers, and I gave out more cards. From Tokyo in the morning, I had a fascinating seatmate from Zimbabwe who was based in Japan. She was working in Myanmar. She was a committed Christian, and her husband runs a radio program in his native language, Shona. Of course, I shared the card with her, and we talked a lot about Jesus, about God's health plan, and about the Sabbath. I got her email address, and I plan to encourage them to study the end-time truths further. I landed in Bangkok, scurried through immigration and customs, trying to still get a flight to Cambodia. It was so good to be back in Thailand, where I can speak the language. They worked hard to help me catch the next flight. Can't remember if I shared any cards there, but I do remember my flight into Cambodia. I sat down between two Khmers, and the lady on my left in particular, I was sure that God put her there. She was a top bank executive who had been at a convention in Bangkok. Her 2-year-old son was sick, and she was hurrying home to be with him. Her name is Nita. We talked a lot. As I shared with her about ASAP Ministries' work in Cambodia, she recognized that I was a Christian. She'd studied English in New Zealand and started to believe in Jesus, but had put it aside when she returned to her country. I knew this was God calling her back, and I encouraged her to study the Bible and to try right now to pray to God about her little boy being sick. Nita was happy to take my language, my life, and I got her card. My friends Mike and Marilee were waiting to pick me up with a tuk-tuk driver to take us and the suitcases. I was so excited to be back in Cambodia that I didn't even talk to the driver. But God had his plans. 2 nights later, Steve and Eric invited us to a small group Bible study that he leads. The same tuk-tuk driver took us. "Come join us," I said. I was hoping he'd actually come in, but I didn't think he would. But he did, and he loved it. Everybody was friendly to him in the small group Bible study, and he whispered to me, "I've watched the Jesus video before." "Really?" I said. "That's great." After the meeting, I pulled out one of the cards, and a church member looked it up on his smartphone and showed him how to use it. "Oh, as soon as I get Wi-Fi, I'll watch these things," he said. He was really eager to learn more. And someone's going to follow up on him and help him learn about our awesome Savior. When I got on the plane to leave Cambodia, I was so surprised to see Nita. Remember the Cambodian banker? "Is that you, Nita?" She was surprised too. Her son was better, and that drove home the fact that God was calling her. I just sent her an email today to follow up. Well, my trip wasn't quite over. I had 2 days in Thailand before going home. I ran all over Bangkok with Tan and June, my international student friends who've just become Christians. They too caught the bug of sharing our faith. We were talking away together in the taxi about the differences between Christianity and Buddhism. The taxi driver looked kind of sleepy, so I said, "Have you been up a long time?" "Yes," he said, "I'm sleepy and nobody's talking to me. You're talking about all these interesting stuff, but not with me." Well, we all started eagerly sharing our faith with him. And at the end, we left him our traveling companion with the local pastor's phone number on it. More than 65 million Thai Buddhists are waiting to know this good news, and we've got great stuff online for them. Well, finally, I was ready to head to America. As I boarded the plane, I was praying that I would get to sit next to a Thai Buddhist monk. Instead, I had 2 Caucasian Americans on either side. One looked like she was a backpacker traveling all through India and Nepal. I was thinking she was probably into Eastern religions. But instead, she was a Jew from a very conservative and religious rabbi's home. You can imagine the fun, the special conversations we had. Her there eating her kosher meal and me my vegetarian meal. "I didn't know any Christians were vegetarian," she said. We talked about how the Bible has great health information for everyone and how Seventh-day Adventists have been studied more than any others because they took God's word seriously. Even more, as I talked with her about being a Sabbath keeper, she was surprised. "On Sunday, right?" she said. No, from sundown Friday night to sundown Saturday night, just like you. I wanted to share much more about the Jewish Messiah, my special friend Jesus, but it didn't seem the right time. Instead, barriers were broken down and a new kind of Christianity was now in her mind. I was just about out of my traveling companions, so I wrote my email and the website, My Language, My Life, on a piece of paper and gave that to her. I'm praying she will read it and study more. Her family is precious to Jesus, and they would be able to share with so many more. Well, my journey was almost over. Our plane was just about to touch down in Chicago when it lifted off back into the sky. That startled me. Had our running gear not come down? No, there was another plane on the runway. I have no idea how close we came to a crash, but I was really relieved when we landed. I had to take the late shuttle to get home by 9, and God had one more contact waiting. A friendly Chinese international student sat near me in the bus. The tiniest bit of friendliness on my side opened up the door. She was eager to talk. She'd just come back from seeing her parents over the summer in China. Out of the blue, she said, "Do you go to church?" "Yes, I do." "Are you a Christian?" No, but I've been going with my friends." We talked lots, and she got to meet my wife and son who were picking me up. I gave her my second to the last card and got her phone number so we could stay in touch. I was just about to jump in the car when I saw the man who I had heard speaking Spanish on the bus. I knew I had one last My Language, My Life card in my wallet. It must be for him. He took it with a smile. Would you like some of these cards? You can order them at asapministries.org under Get Equipped, where it says Multilanguage Resources. You can order them for your church, put your local number right on the back, or you can print your own business cards with this graphic on that back. You can stamp it onto some glow tracks, or like I did, just write it on a napkin and give it away. I finally laid my head down to sleep that night, but my traveling companions continued their journey all the way around the world. Won't you join those tiniest travel companions and me so we can reach the world ASAP?